Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining my session. My name is Sahan. I'm one of the business application MVPs, and today I'm going to give you an introduction to Azure IoT Central. So, before we go into the details of what is Azure IoT Central, let's have a quick look at what is IoT. What are IoT devices? So IoT devices are a set of devices that have the ability to emit data about the way they are being used or about the environment that they've been used in. So some of the IoT devices we already are very familiar with is our smartwatches or our smart home thermostats. What these devices can do is, if you take the example of a smartwatch, it has the ability to emit data about your heart rate, the steps that you've taken. And if you look at from a smart thermostats perspective, it has the ability to emit data about the home temperature. So shifting gears and having a look at this from a commercial perspective, what does it mean from a commercial perspective is there are various devices that are out there in the industry. So if you take the example of a scanner or MRI scanner at a hospital, these MRI scanners are very, very crucial for the operation at the office, at the hospital. So if there are any downtimes, the hospital cannot really afford these devices to be down because they are pretty much being used to save human lives. So how can we make sure that these devices are running at the optimal level so there are no breakages? So even if there is going to be a breakage, how can we predict that? And how can we take the necessary actions to stop it from malfunctioning? So this is where IoT comes into play. So let's say, for example, if you take the same example of a MRI scanner, in this scanner, there are various components that are in there that has various life cycles. So let's say, for example, in the scanner, we can have a temperature sensor that will monitor the temperature of this device. So if there is a spike in the temperature, there can be a notification sent to a system. And once this notification is received, there can be a series of workflows that will follow that. Now, say, for example, when a heat anomaly is detection, the first thing you may want to do is give it a restart or do a reset or something like that. And without actually having to go, because if you look at it from a hospital and MRI scanner manufacturer's perspective, these are two different people located in two different geographical locations. So in order to get someone to actually physically go and do a restart, it's going to take time. So rather than that, what if once we receive the anomaly, what if we can send a remote self-healing code that will give an attempt at fixing the issue? And if the issue is not sorted, then we can have someone scheduled to go out there and do it. So you can see the series of workflows that can follow when a notification is received. So that is from a commercial perspective, that is where IoT comes into play. So what is needed for these IoT devices? These IoT devices, as much as they have the capability to emit the data, they need a platform where these data need to be emitted to, which means they need a platform that can receive this data. They need a platform that can have the business rules to detect the anomalies, and not only detect it, but also store this telemetry data in that platform. So from a business user's perspective, they can convert this data that they have received into reports or dashboard that will make sense to the business user. So say, for example, there's a platform that has the ability to connect all of these Azure IoT devices, receive the data, show the data in a graphical format, such as a chart, and also have the business rules in there that will basically trigger all the necessary workflows. That sort of a platform is needed. So from an organization's perspective that is just getting started with in the IoT journey, things can look quite complex. From a business perspective, businesses who is just getting started will always wonder, how can we get started? Where can we start? What is the platform we are going to connect our devices to? Where is our data is stored? All this information that is emitted from these devices, where are they stored? How can we run analytics on this data? How can we do the device management? Now, these devices should have the ability to retire these devices, to send these devices to repair, and if there are any self-healing codes we need to send, there should be a platform to send that, and basically manage that device lifecycle. Now, from an organization's perspective, an organization that is just getting started with in the IoT journey, they might have a few IoT devices, but as the business grows, there will be more and more IoT devices that they want to connect. So they want a platform that can scale along with the number of IoT devices that they're connecting. And finally, they want a platform where the data is secure, because these are quite important, quite sensitive data they might be emitting to this platform. This data has to be really, really securely stored and transmitted. So they want a platform that they can do all of this. And to address some of these, Microsoft provides a range of IoT products and services. And this slide pretty much shows some of them over here. And you can see right at the very top, we have Azure IoT Central as the SaaS offering that Microsoft provides for connecting IoT devices. So what does Azure IoT Central provides? It provides a platform where organizations can connect their IoT devices directly in a plug and play sort of fashion. They can do device management, so they can see a list of all the IoT devices they are connected. They can look at the device properties. They can, such as firmware or the device names and the device memories and so forth. They can send self-healing codes out to the device, and not only that, they can look at the telemetry that the platform is receiving in a dashboard or in a report fashion. It also provides the ability to create rules in there. So we can create rules. So if you take the example of a temperature, if there's I can put a rule in there that says if the temperature goes more than 30 degrees, that is an anomaly. That means we have to either send an email to a certain team, or we need to execute another workflow that will go and create alerts. And if it is field services, like Ali was talking before, if a work order needs to be created in field services to make sure a resource is dispatched, I can have that rules engine take care of that, not only the detection, but also the triggering of the workflows as well. And finally, I can do the user management and identity management as well, as to make sure who are the people who can log in and have a look at this data as well. So what I have done is I have actually created a demo, and I'll pretty much show you the demo when I go to that area. So what I've done is I have taken the MX chip, which is a development board I think most of y'all are very familiar with. So I have taken the MX chip. So the MX chip has the ability to connect into Azure IoT Central. The MX chip has 4 sensors in there, like your temperature, your humidity, pressure, and so forth. And what it has a template in there in Azure IoT Central, so you can connect it. So it basically emits the data into Azure IoT Central. So using Azure IoT Central, I can see all the information in a chart format. I can create the business rules and so forth. But what I've done is I have actually taken this a step further. What I have done is I have connected this MX chip into what we call a Groove Shield, which is basically an I/O extension board. It gives us the ability to connect the MX chip into external devices. So what I have done is I have connected this MX chip into a relay, which is basically acting as a switch. So what happens is the relay has the ability to go and trigger a fan. So the scenario here is I'm sending a self-healing code to the Azure IoT Central, and when the code is received by the MX chip, it will trigger the relay, which basically acts as a switch, and it goes and turns on the fan. And when the job is done, it will turn off the fan. So the idea here is, if you go back to the MRI scanner example, there's a heat anomaly. I'm using rules to detect it, and I'm creating a alert in field services. And then using field services, I'm executing a Power Automate workflow that is basically going to send the command to Azure IoT Central, and Azure IoT Central is going to send the command to the MX chip, which basically goes and triggers the relay, and it'll go and turn on the fan. So that is a scenario that I have. So let's jump into Azure IoT Central and have a look at how things are done over there. So can everybody see my screen? I'm sharing my Azure IoT dashboard.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. So in the dashboard, so you can see I have configured, I'm connected my MX chip into here. So I'm receiving the data in real time. So there has been a few temperature spikes and differences in humidity and pressure as well. If I click on the devices area, I go into all the devices. So I've got only one device connected here. So if I click on the device, and if I go to the about side of things, I see all the properties about this device. So I can see what is the processor, what is the software version, what is the memory of this particular device. And if I go into to the overview, I see a more omni-focused telemetry of what is being emitted from this device. So I can see the pressure, temperature, and humidity again over here. And if I go to the commands area, Azure IoT Central provides a list of commands out of the box. So these are the commands that are out there. And if I go to the raw data, I can see some of the telemetry that's been emitted from this device as well. Now, if I go into the rules area, this is where you can create the device rules. So I have created one rule in here that says alert. And what that is doing is it is going to monitor the temperature. And if the moment the temperature goes more than 28 degrees, it has the ability to trigger that rule. Now, when it triggers, it has a series of actions it can perform. So it can connect into a custom webhook, so it can send an email. It can also connect into one of the Azure monitoring or Azure action groups. The important thing is it has the ability to connect into Power Automate and Azure Logic Apps. Now, these are two workflow engines, and they are going to provide the capability is sky's the limit for that. That means the moment you receive any alert from here, you can pretty much connect into any platform, any legacy system, any app within Dynamics 365, and create and orchestrate workflows from there onwards. So this is the cool part over here. And so that's basically what the rules engine provides. And if you go to the data export area, you have the ability to export this data into an external data repository as well. So if you want to do some further data analytics around running either a Power BI dashboard or something like that, you have the ability to export this data into an external data repository. So before I go into Dynamics and show some of the things, let me just show you from a Microsoft Power Automate level what I have done. So I have created 3 flows in here. So I've got one flow that says get alerts Dynamics. So this is basically when a alert is triggered, this alert is going to pick up the alert and go and create the respective alert in Dynamics 365. And I have actually created, I can actually create one flow for this, but I have created 2 just to make things clear. I've created 2 flows in here, one to turn on the fan and one to turn off the fan. And now if I take you to some of these workflows, so if you look at from rules, the rule firing workflow, when a rule is fired, I'm basically going to look up the device record, and then I'm going to go and create an alert record against that particular device. And then if you look at from a turn on workflow side of things, so every time a record is selected, I am going to go and execute a command in this particular device. So I'm going to get the device ID, and from there I'm going to use this particular command. So all my commands have been built against the turn on LED command. So I'm basically turning that on. That will go and trigger the fan. And vice versa, I've done the similar thing to turn off the fan as well. Now, mind you, here I have used the out-of-the-box flow commands that is provided, but you also have the ability to connect into Azure IoT Central through its API as well. So you have the ability to do the same thing by connecting into APIs and triggering the devices through the APIs as well. And you can read everything about the APIs if you go to the Microsoft Docs area. So let's go into Dynamics 365. So what I have done here is under field services, under devices, I have created a device record, which is called the MX chip. And I can see there are 6 alerts that's been created within the last 1 day. So that's basically the alerts that I manually created few hours ago. So that basically records all the heat anomalies. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go into the flow area, and this basically shows the 2 flows that I have created. So I've got the turn off fan and the turn on fan, and I'm going to select these, and that is going to trigger the fan in there. So let me just switch my camera, and I'll show you the demo live. So let me just switch my camera over here. So can everybody see the device? So I've got the device over here that I have created. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, the device and the lovely stream deck.
Yes, that is the stream deck. Yes. So this is the device. So this is the fan. I've got the MX chip over here connected into my battery. So I've got the extension ports over here. There's a wire going from here to the relay, and there's a battery that basically powers this fan. So when I send the command from Azure IoT Central, that is basically going to go and trigger this fan. So let's just go ahead, and I'm praying to the demo gods here that it's going to work. There you go. I'm triggering the workflow right now. So give it a few seconds, and that'll go and turn on the fan. So give it a few seconds. There you go. Demo gods on my side today. So there you go. It received the command, and it went and triggered the relay over here. So I can see the relay light is on, and it's also started turning on the fan. So similarly, if I want to turn off the fan, all I need to do is go and execute this command from here. That will go and trigger the workflow to turn off the fan, and that is it's gonna turn off the fan over here. So you can see how easy it is to integrate the Azure IoT Central platform into anything within the Dynamics 365 ecosystem. So let me just go back to my PowerPoint again. There you go. So you can see I have executed the turn off command, and that has gone and executed this this flow. So if I go into the actual flow properties, I can see the run history. So if I click on one of them, that is how things have executed, and turned on the LED and turned it off, vice versa. So slides again. So we looked at how the MX chip got connected into Azure IoT Central and how it is capable of executing a command. So let's look at, from an organization's perspective, what is the value it's going to bring in. The Azure IoT Central platform is going to bring a lot of business value into here. It's going to give an organization a perfect starting point. To any organization that is just getting started in the IoT journey, this is a perfect platform to get started, because it gives you a really fast and quick way to get their devices connected, get their devices up and running, and get going on their journey. It gives a perfect platform, because it has the ability to not only connect the data and receive the telemetry, but it also has the ability to create rich dashboards. It has the ability to export the data into external data sources and create that data that makes sense to the business, and by giving that right insights. therefore, considering all of this, it creates an enormous business value. So it's really, really easy for an organization to get started in the IoT journey. So from although it's a SaaS offering, it also has the ability, because of its capability that it has around integrating into the other products within the Microsoft ecosystem, like Power Automate and Azure Logic Apps and Azure Monitoring Groups. It is very flexible as well. So the moment you receive all of this data, you have the ability to, whatever the complex workflow orchestration you need to do, this platform provides you the ability to do that. So I have written a few articles about the platform in my blog. So if you go to my blog, which is Dynamics 365 or d365blogger.com, you should be able to see these posts in there. So I have actually done a post on how to create this demo as well. So just go through them. And if you have any questions, do reach out to me. I would also like to take this opportunity to announce one of the new community platform that we are coming up. So this is a project that myself, a fellow MVP Nadija Bomiria, and an ex-MVP called Prabhat Fonseca in the SharePoint space is starting up. So the purpose of this community portal is to provide a platform for people who are just getting started in the Dynamics 365 to learn, meet, and share their knowledge. So if this might be an individual or a professional who is making a career change into Dynamics, or it might be a student who is just getting started in the Dynamics or the Microsoft ecosystem, the content that we are publishing here will be really, really important. And I think the most unique offering we are doing over here is we are planning to do most of our sessions in multiple languages. So anybody from around the world can connect and learn Dynamics in here. So that is, with that, I'm going to wrap up my session, and I'm going to open the floor for any questions that may have. I think I've finished a bit early. I was a bit mindful that I was going to go over time, but and I swear to God, I spoke slow as well. I usually talk more faster than this. So yeah, any questions from the audience?
I think there's one there already. Here it was. Pavan was asking if we can try doing a demo like this using the Azure free trial.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go into Azure IoT Central, you can connect into a free trial. I think the free trial gives you 7 days to try this out. If you're just looking at connecting the MX chip, there are heaps of posts in Microsoft Docs that gives you guides you through step by step. And I think Ben Vollmer has done a few documents as well in terms of how you can connect this. And I've got a few posts in my blog post as well around connecting it. In terms of connecting this to a fan and so forth, there's a bit of work that needs to be done. So you need to have a few components like the Groove Shield and the relay and stuff like that, which you can get online, and you can get started with it.
Awesome. Any more questions there? Oh, I think everyone just wants a shot and actually go and do it. What other bits plugins have you got for your Shield?
So I've got a few other sensors that I want to try this out with. So I've got a what do you call a humidity sensor that can basically inject into soil, and I can detect the humidity in the soil. I've got some infrared sensors as well. So I'm gonna try out a few things on that. The other thing I want to try out is the Azure Sphere, which is pretty much works with Azure Edge or the IoT Edge device. So that will be the next thing, Mark, I'll be trying out.
Awesome. I mean, I was looking at one of the, so we have in the UK programs where you can go in and teach kids. It's like STEM projects. So yeah. One of the STEM projects that they've done was using the moisture sensor and the relay. So when the plant got to a certain moisture rating, It knew that it was too dry, and then the relay would open up and it would water the plant.
Exactly. Actually, when I said humidity, that's not the humidity, it's a moisture sensor I was going to refer to. And that is exactly what I had in mind, because this is a very, very similar use case we have in Australia as well, is especially around the agriculture industry in Perth, basically. What happens is the soil from the surface may look dry, but although it's dry from the surface, underneath the soil, the soil is actually wet. That means there's water. So farmers don't know about this, but they think from the surface it's dry and they will water it, and the excess water will actually kill the plant as well. So if you can use something like that that can detect the moisture and provide that insight to say, okay, although it's looking dry on the surface, there is water underneath, they can water the plant at the right time as well. So that's a perfect use case over there.
So Ian Connolly is asking if your blog chats about the steps on how to connect the fan.
Yes, there is steps around actually programming the MX chip into connecting into Azure IoT Central. I'm still writing the article for that. I'll promise I get that out in the next couple of weeks, and you can go through that as well. So I have basically covered from the very beginning to the step where you have to program it. So the moment I put that out there, you got the entire demo out there.
So Pavan's also asking, instead of sending the data using Flow, can we use the commands directly from field service?
Yeah, you can. You can. The reason I didn't use that is used for connected field services. But I mean, it is a record. It is a entity on its own right. So you can create a flow the moment the command record is created in Dynamics 365. It can pick it up and execute the workflow.
Excellent. Any more questions? No. Awesome. And that was an amazing session. I love IoT. It's just great. Do you want to give everyone just a shout out where you can be found on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc.? I know you covered your blog, but if you want to follow you or ask questions if they didn't want to ask questions now.
Absolutely. Connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you search for Sahan Wijayasekera, if you don't, my last name is quite lengthy. So if you're getting confused, it's on it's on the session agenda. Have a look at it. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to my blog site, which is d365blogger.com, and also search for me as d365blogger on Twitter. I'm out there. So do connect with me, and I love to share my experience and also discuss more things about IoT.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure.
No worries. So next we have Tricia Sinclair to talk about IoT and how it's used in managing her health.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning.